Today I thought I'd show my Nepenthes collection. These are the tropical pitcher plants. And as you can see, since it's winter here, very dry in the house. Just to keep them happy, I'm keeping them in this acrylic box. You could also use an aquarium, other thing just to keep them in a place where you keep the humidity a little higher around them. If you don't have humidity, the biggest thing that'll happen pretty quickly is you'll lose your pitchers, and the new leaves emerging will not give you pitchers. So this is an easy way to do it, although they've been growing well and are just about in need of a bigger container, so I'll have to look at an aquarium. So let's go ahead and take a look at the different ones here. Now, I think all of these actually came from predatory plants, and I have one that I got in the first batch. You can see how much bigger it is. I bought this small or extra small size, and this is obviously no longer in that size. So here you can see a few of the pictures. You can see with my hand they're getting pretty big. All right, look at that. And you can probably see down here, you can see the liquid, and this is the water that's been created here outside to get some rain. And you'll see on a lot of these a lot of red coloration. I had them under some LED lights. It was a little too intense, and they got a little curly, but it did definitely bring out the red that a number of these varieties have. None of these are species. They are all hybrids. And sometimes you get a little more hybrid vigor, but so you can see this one is Nepenthes sanguinea and ventricosa. Ventricosa is one of the easiest to grow, so this is a cross with that, and you can tell from the first name, red, maybe blood, I don't know, but it brings that red to it as well. So they name all of them, and this one is Secret Victory. So if you're looking for a good starter one, if they still have this or a similar cross, that's a great start. In general, when you're looking at Nepenthes, they're broken down into three types in terms of location. You'll have your lowland, where it's going to be much warmer. Your intermediate, which is going up in elevation a little bit and starting to be in more cooler areas, cooler evenings and so forth. And then your highland. You really can't grow highland in a house. There's some really cool ones, but people who do grow them successfully are usually have a situation where they're cooling it, which is not something you're going to easily do in a house. Let me just show you. Here's one of the ones developing off the end. You can see it hasn't opened yet, and kind of neat. So as leaves come out, you'll see them start to form the pitchers out at the end of these tendrils. And you can see some of my earlier leaves when I did have it without enough humidity. They've been doing well, and then I wasn't paying as much mind to them and got a little drier, and so I lost some. Like I say, in the winter I keep them semi-enclosed to keep the sphagnum moss in there very moist, not soggy but moist, and that humidity in that local area keeps it very high. So here is, let's take them out one at a time. So this is spathulata and truncata cross, and the name, I don't see the name, but that is the cross. So truncata is, you can see these leaves are basically truncated. They don't taper out, they're cut short. So I believe that's where the truncata name comes. You can see this one is emerging as the most recent. And you can see here, now you know you're going to get pitchers when they have little pitchers. You can see them developing at the end. If that dries up early, then you're, like this one did right here, you're not going to get anything. So this would be a little more red if I had it more intense light. Right now this box just sits in a northeast exposure window, so it's not getting much direct light at all, but they're still doing okay. They do not really want to be in the middle of summer in bright full sun. That's too much for them. But in the summer, I just put them out in a full shade area, and there's enough diffuse light. They're quite happy there, and they don't need to be contained in that space. In fact, you don't want to do that because if they do get any stray sun, it could heat up quite quickly. So these pictures, as you can see, are a little more full in the belly, but they do have a tapered neck and a bit of a collar to them. And if you can see here, the top, you can see a little hair, so that's another place you'll see variation in pictures, and then the wings. So these are more of a elongated type, but still starting to get a little squat. And the other thing is there's often in almost all Nepenthes really, there's two types of pictures. There will be the ones that grow at the base rosette. As they get larger, they do start to vine from the top. And when that happens, then they start to create a second kind of pitcher, a different type, because it's a different prey type that they're attracting. So on the ground, you've got crawling things and things like that, and you have a different type of bugs and so forth. And even the larger ones do trap things such as frogs and other things as well, although some frogs will also live in them. So there's all kinds of different relationships with Nepenthes. So then these last three that I'm showing, they're all came at around the same time. So you can see this is not as vigorous. This is a little more challenging of a plant, I can already tell, to keep alive. And they do vary, so it's good, really kind of good to get a few and see how you do. But I love these pictures, and they'll get even tubbier, I think, as they go on, and these flat little tops, really cute. Here's a second one. Now you can see the difference from the first one developed while I had it with much more intense light under the LEDs. That brings the reds out much more. And this one is much more without that. But the amount of red, even without direct light, you can tell this will be quite red pictures as this plant evolves. And again, here's a small one developing. You can see that, and this one never developed because it was in a drier situation. So they kind of come in almost in groups, and sometimes the plant, even in the right situation, won't be pitchering for a while, and that's just something that happens as you grow them. And then this is the third one. Now again, these three came at the same time. The first one I showed was the biggest, and I got that at about a year earlier, but these other ones all came at the same time, and you can see what difference in vigor in these plants. So this one has quite a lot of red in it, but as you see, again, here's a new leaf, a new pitcher, much less red than the one that happened to be developed under the LEDs. And you can see the red in the leaves and so forth, but it was a little too intense. The different plants, that's part of it. If you grow them as a group, you know, the one that I showed that was had a little crispy ends, maybe that needs to be more in shade. So if I put them under the lights again, I want to make sure it's more shaded and see how it does. You really need to see how they do, and generally they're not that difficult to keep alive with the right situation, but some are just going to be more demanding. So even plants that might come from the intermediate zone may do well in a home, but there may be some where you're just not going to have enough differential in the night and daytime. So anyway, you can see these are really very pretty pictures. I really love the little tubby ones I just showed before, but this is a very pretty plant as well. So I'm really looking forward to see how this does out in the summer, you know, in natural conditions. And then the last thing in here, this is a little sundew Drosera. This is a Drosera Aliciae, I believe from South Africa. I may be wrong, so you know, I'll check that if you're interested in these. But you can see this is a small plant right now. It actually had been growing quite well and had died back when it had gotten too dry, and did come back from the rosette, and these are all new leaves coming out. But if you can see, it is not right now creating much dew on the ends of the leaves, and it probably is because it's not getting as much sun. And I particularly like these, frankly, to grow and put down on the shelves where I'm starting my seedlings for the spring for the vegetable garden, and I'll have a couple other types of Drosera as well. They are one of the best things at catching fungus gnats. The fungus gnats are drawn to them. So last year I had this box right down there beside all my seedlings, and they were catching lots of bugs, and they all had quite a growth spurt. So that was interesting too, to see like a new leaf emerge that was almost twice as big as the previous ones, just because it suddenly was getting all of that food. Now, when you water these, it is essential that they be watered with only rainwater or distilled water. They will not be happy with anything with hardness in it. The plants really need that purity of the water. The salts and so forth will build up, and you get away with it for a little while, and then it's eventually you're basically going to have your plants deteriorate and die if you do that. So put these back in. So the way I water them is I will actually just make sure I'm not squishing anybody. Is I use a little pump sprayer, and I just fill it with rainwater. So hopefully it's far enough away. I don't know if that shows pump handle. So I'll just go ahead and pump this, and when I do water, I water with this, the long wand is really good, and I'll water down here at the base. Particularly when they're in this, no breeze and so forth in this little box. I do not want to get it down in the rosettes as much. Base of the leaves, you can cause mildew and other things in that. That is one of the things that has taken out a couple of Nepenthes for me in the past. I had a couple that were definitely seemed trickier to grow, and they did not make it long term. And they were good outside. They came in, it probably wasn't quite warm enough, and then they got a little wet. And as soon as you see black growing in the tip of any of these, the growing points, that's really going to be a problem. There may be ways to treat it. I was not successful. So, and then, so I'll just close these back up. I use a little wood block just to keep it propped open, and put these back in the window. Again, really no direct sun now, but they could benefit from a little bit more. But they've been doing quite well, and they seem happy, and they'll be even happier when they go back outside in the summer. Not that hard to grow. They're a lot of fun, really interesting, and all kinds of varied pictures. But I definitely, if you're getting into them, read up on the different species, even in the crosses, possibly even talk to a vendor, find out some of the easier ones to start with. If you kind of just pick out the coolest looking pictures, you may be getting something that really is going to be completely impractical to keep alive at home. And so I always say start with the easiest, and then as you get the hang of it, figure out the needs, you can try others. So that's my little collection of Nepenthes. Neat little plants. I definitely recommend trying some.